What's up, everybody? We are back with
We're back.
episode number 255. And today's topic will be favorite prog rock albums. Prog rock, prog metal, whatever you consider prog. But obviously, before we get into that, first of all, we're missing Steve. Everybody might notice that. Steve will be coming shortly. He's just running late from work. Happens to the best of us.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we have a guest with us today. Everybody, welcome John. John is down there in the Argus shirt.
Welcome, John.
Wishbone Ash. Yep. He got to actually see him. He actually got to see him. 2022 on that tour. So that's really cool. But anyhow, before we get going, we'll do our normal thing. Everybody got any shout outs? I'll start off with you, Kev. You got anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, a few of you probably know my sister has pancreatic cancer. Anyway, I talked to her last night and got the best news. Her tumors have finally shrunk, so she's beating it. So I'm so happy to hear that about her that made me cry. But anyway, that's my good news.
Good. I'm glad to hear it, man.
That's a tough one to beat too. So more power to her. Hope it continues.
Yep.
Same here. Fantastic. How about you, John? Carcass John? You got anything? We got two Johns, so I'm just going to call you Carcass for the remainder of the show, just so we don't mix it up.
That's not a problem. I'm pretty used to it by now. But we did have a huge benefit event for the Leza family, local family. He's Cesar's in a band called he's in Maleficus and a bunch of other bands, but he's a prolific guitarist, and his family lost their home and all their entire belongings in a house fire. And we had a huge auction, silent auction, raffle, and a bunch of bands played, Flash Mob, Rotting Corpse. I can't even name them all. They had a whole bunch of people show up and give of their time and effort, and it was really cool. I did a poster for it and ended up buying it myself for a large sum of money and giving it to those families. So anyway, you got to do what you got to do, but shout out to them.
Awesome.
I don't know if it's the strength, if they call it strength in numbers benefit, or the fight fire with fire. But anyway, if you get on Facebook or one of the social media things, you can see it. And if you want to donate, feel free. They're in the process of rebuilding, but we raised a bunch of cash for them, and it's feels pretty good to do something like that for someone who's suffering. But other than that, shout out to Xander Harden again, our youngest listener, but probably he's going to be a long-termer. I sent him a shirt, so hopefully he'll shoot a picture of it and send it to us.
I got a few things in the mail from the labels. This is a series that Rocks Records is putting out. It's called Gems, and they've already got I've got two here, and they've got two more in the works, and then two more after that. But basically, they're taking old demos from bands and putting them on vinyl and CD, stuff that you wouldn't expect to see on vinyl or CD, So volume 1 here is two bands from California from the 80s, Soldiers and Taker. Although the Soldier demo and this one is from 1992. It was their last demo. And then volume 2 is Ultimatum and the Musketeers, two bands from New Mexico.
Limited edition green, like it.
Yep. And I just happened to be cleaning out a closet and found a pile of these literally old 8x10s that we barely used because we made them for our first demo, which this is what this is, our first demo. So I signed like 50 of them and sent them off to the label. So when you get one of those, when you get the record. So I do have to say though, I don't like that demo at all. I fought it for years, putting it out on anything, but the label convinced me, hey man, just because you don't like it, other people do like it, and your fans like it, so let them put it out. So I was like, all right, we'll put it out. So there you go. It's only 200 copies, so 200 copies on vinyl. But yeah, volume 3 and 4 are already in the works. I'm super excited about, well, both of them, but volume 4 especially because it's two doom metal bands that are just freaking fantastic. Place of Skulls on side A. With his Victor Griffin's band from Pentagram, among others. And side B is a band called Sweet Cicada, who are just Black Sabbath, 70s Black Sabbath personified. I mean, it's exactly what you want to hear from a doom band. Really good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that one. But in any case,
funny it's volume 4.
yeah,
Yeah.
oddly enough. And I kind of wish I would have remembered this because I basically I pick a color for each one. I wish I would have remembered to pick yellow for volume 4, but yellow was in volume 1. So
That's all right.
yeah, volume 4 is like a turquoise blue color. But in any case, that's it for me. John, did you have anything you wanted to add before we get into it? John?
No, I just wish a shout out to Bill Baffert of Rocks Records because I know what he's going through difficulty with the California thing, but he's still moving forward. And I think he had posted something this morning about some guy in California that had built up this vinyl record store and lost it all, burned down.
Oh.
And I thought
I read about that yesterday on Facebook.
yeah. So that was sad.
Pretty sad.
Horrific.
Yeah, Bill's been through hell and back since
Yeah.
New Year's Day, and he's sharing this online, so it's not I'm sharing anything that's private. But his granddaughter, who I believe just turned 18, she's got cancer, and I think he said stage 3 cancer, lymphatic, I believe is what it is. So thoughts and prayers for her. And then his dad ended up in the hospital, and his dad takes care of his mom, who is elderly. So that was, sucked. And then on top of that, he has, he's dealing with all the fires out there, and they had to, sorry, I forgot to silence my phone. They had to evacuate a hospital, and he was setting up all these shelters. And so he hasn't been getting any sleep and has been working 7 days a week. And I spoke to him this morning, and he's sick as a dog. He sounded horrible on the phone. I'm like, you all right? He goes, I don't feel horrible. I took off yesterday and slept all day long. I said, how you feeling now? He goes, still terrible. What are you doing driving to work? I was like, oh, geez, man. I feel bad for him. Anyhow, so yeah, he's struggling, but he's a good guy. He could definitely use your thoughts and prayers as well. So let's get into it. Carcass, before we start the thing, you got a POW for us?
Yes,
Hang on, I need the graphic. Ready? There you go.
Oh, yeah. We still have to do that. So, John, just so you know, because I know you're new to the show, every week I pull up two albums, a rock record and a metal record that I think everybody needs to have in their collection. So I'll start off with the rock record. This is Barry Goudreau's solo record, which very easily could have been Boston's third album, but they dilly-dallied around and argued about contracts, and eventually the band just split and went their separate ways. But this thing is such a solid record.
It is really good.
I love it. Yeah.
I see it in the cutout bins all the time. This is actually a German pressing on Portrait, and I really did. I mean, you know me, I like unique pressings, but the sound quality seems a little better than normal. And it even has the hype sticker in German. It's kind of faded out over here, but it says former guitarist of Boston. So I guess the Germans knew ahead of time that this probably would be his coup de grace. But anyway, every metalhead, every rock record collector needs to have this in their collection.
Yeah, I have that one.
I actually think that album is better than some of the Boston albums,
Later.
post Don't Look Back. Yeah.
I think it's better than number 3. What is it? The one with the spaceship flying away. The
Third stage.
Third stage.
Third stage. I think it's better than that one. Not that it's a bad record, but I just think that one's better. It's a little more raw sounding, not so open and epic. But
yeah, I have that one on CD. I think. It maybe Rock Candy put it out.
Yep.
Reissue.
Yeah, they did.
And I think it's out of print now, but I did get a copy of it. So.
It is out of print. You can find it though. I mean, I see it all the time in cutout bins, and especially the vinyl.
Yeah.
Those pressings are floating out there, and they're $6 to $10. I mean, it's well worth whatever you pay for it. Okay, so this week I have actually 2 metal pressings. One I was a little skeptical about, but I thought, because my friend's playing drums in the band, I'm going to go ahead and grab it. But the new Pentagram came out, and I know there's a lot of eye rolling when it comes to this band because it's Bobby Liebling, who has had a lot to recompense and show remorse and repent from, but he's done it. He's cleaned up and he's dry and he sounds better than ever. And this record is phenomenal. I think you need to at least investigate the record itself. And this has got Henry Vasquez from St. Vitus and Spirit Caravan and the Skull and blah blah blah. Name a band, and he's playing drums. And Tony, Tony from Moss Generator. Tony, help me out here. Oh gosh, that's gonna drive me insane. I can't believe I pulled a Scott Waters.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I do it all the time.
Yeah. The metal fart.
Tony Reed, golly. John, get yourself together here, buddy. But Tony Reed did all the production work, and this was kind of a DIY project. It was a crazy idea from Bobby, but they did it, and man, they're playing out. If you have a chance, check them out. And if, like I said, if we judged all our rock heroes on what they've done or what they've done in the past, we would never listen to anything.
So where is that album available from?
This thing, it is. Well, let's see. It is on Heavy Psych Sounds. Oh yeah, Heavy Psych Sounds Records. They just put out the whole entire Pentagram catalog, pretty much, on remastered 180 gram thick colored crazy vinyl, and this has a little bit of everything, but it's definitely a Pentagram record, and they wrote it and recorded it in 21 days. So
wow.
And there is a deluxe edition of this that has the song. I think they wrote 22 songs, and there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on this. There's another like a deluxe edition that has all the rest of the songs that didn't make the album, but they're equally as good because I've heard them all. But anyway, and of course, Iron Jaw. I'm telling you, I mean, I like Iron Jaw. They're local heroes. I've seen them a gazillion times. Rick and all those dudes. But this is definitely their best record, and I think everybody needs to buy it, especially to help you out, Scott, but to help them out, because this thing is really good. I mean, if you like straight up Judas Priest style metal, kind of from a Screaming for Vengeance era, man, this is it right here. So
what's up, Damien?
I'm waiting for my
yeah.
So the new
straight up here, I think it sounds good. It looks good. I think that
mine's red, so I was excited about that. But
they're all red. Yep, they're all that blood red color, real deep red. What's
right,
up, Brother Lee? Brother Lee's with us. We've got quite a few people with us already.
Yeah, I was going to flash the Luciano Pavarotti tape, but I thought, well, nobody really, except for me and my mother.
I actually saw him live with my mother.
I saw him live too. He's phenomenal. I mean, you can't argue with talent.
Yeah.
But so Pentagram, Lightning in a Bottle, the new Iron Jaw, Cursed, and then the Barry Goudreau solo record. Buy them, collect them, listen to them. They're all phenomenal. You won't go wrong.
Right on. We've got quite a few people leaving comments, but let's go ahead and get into the topic, because we're already 50 minutes in. So Prog-Rock. We don't really have time to get into like definitions. What we're just going to do is start showing records.
Let's give a brief definition, because
go ahead. You go ahead.
It's like I told. I sent Kevin a couple of the Carcass John's alter ego programs I did for 128 dB Rock, and like I said on there, I don't think that anybody can give us a definite definition of what it is, but when we hear it, we say, hey, that sounds progressive, or that sounds proggy, or whatever. According to the dictionary, it was a UK thing from the 60s. It was technical, psychedelic, extended songs, fantasy lyrics, and it had mixed genres kind of thrown together.
Right, yep.
So it wasn't designated as one particular. Well, that was the style, is a bunch of different styles. So if that makes any sense.
Well, I think back in them early days, in the 60s and the 70s, there were so many bands wanting to do that sound, that I think it's just, to me, that's the originating factor in prog-rock, was that era, 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, I agree. I think when people were trying to figure out what are we going to do? I mean, are we are we the Turtles or are we Black Sabbath?
Right.
And then there is everything else in between. In fact, I mean, is Black Sabbath a prog rock band?
I don't think so.
I don't think
Okay, all right.
they would go in that category to me.
But Kevin, what was the last track that I put on that first prog rock episode? Do you remember what it was?
I'm up to number 3 on your list there.
It was a Black Sabbath tune, but it was the Rat Salad.
Right.
Now,
Yep.
Listen to that and tell me that that's not progressive. It's
Well,
hard.
a lot of their earlier stuff, I mean, when they were Earth, kind of had maybe a little bit of that progressiveness in their sound.
Yeah,
Yep.
they had some jazz
Definitely had
influences
blues
here and
days.
there too, and some definitely obviously bluesy influences.
Yeah, there's some parts I think on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath I would say are proggy. I think
Yeah.
Rick Wakeman is on one of the tracks on that album.
I think Rick Wakeman's on the whole album, from what I
Yeah.
remember.
Yep.
Yep. Well, cool. Let's get into showing some stuff. We'll just go clockwise. I'll start with Kev, then we'll go to John, then we'll go Marcus, and I'll go last. So we're supposed to each pull 10 of our favorite records. I found it very, very difficult, but I still did it.
I pulled a bunch just in case you pulled something already. Or you
I
showed
pulled some
something that I
extras
had
just in
pulled
case
already.
too.
Well, I think for me early on, back in the 70s, to me that the 70s were so defining. I mean, different songs were coming out, and I think early progressive music to me, a lot of it came from Kansas, early Kansas and stuff, like these two here are probably my 2 favorite albums from Kansas. I mean, definitely, and they still continue to play that progressive sound today. Even, what are they coming up on? Just about 50 years now?
50 years. I had pulled one too. Doggone it, where is it? But
I think this
I
all
got
three
one too.
was like the trifecta of perfection here.
Yeah.
I mean, I like a lot of their other stuff too, but I mean, these are just go-to albums for me when I'm in the mood for Kansas.
well, I was going to pull Mask, but I couldn't find it, so I pulled the Half-Speed Master of Leftoverture. So
Yeah, if I were to
I
pick one
agree
with Kansas, I showed it would be Mask.
yeah,
That thing is just really, really heavy and fluent keys on that.
their first one is I mean, it's very progressive, but Mask, it's like they hit their stride all of a sudden.
Yep.
And it was right before. I mean, Song for America, they still had a little bit of a hook to it, but not quite to what Leftoverture and Point of No Return became. But they were looking for hit songs at that point. So
Yep.
but kind of like the
a lot
early
of the
journey.
older stuff isn't as bad either. I mean, I prefer the Steve Walsh era, but I mean, what was it? John Elefante, I think.
The Elefante brothers.
Yep.
And I mean, he sounds amazing too, especially for the older Kansas.
Well, and once again, I could have pulled a million records too, but like the early Journey, the first 3 Journeys, I mean, those are super hyper progressive. And then someone said, "Hey, you need to start selling some more records than the 500,000 you've sold. So, can we, pop it up a little bit?" And so that's when Steve Perry joined and shared vocals with Greg Raleigh for a while, but then became the super band that they are. But anyway,
I'd like to refer to that as chick rock.
of course.
All right. Well, John, you're up next. By the way, if anybody's looking for John is a new YouTuber as well and is doing videos. What's the name of your channel?
Follow Light Music Review.
There you go. Follow the Light Music Review.
It's
So
new. It's new.
yeah, brand new. But you've got 3-4 videos up already, so you guys can go check it out. But what do you got to show?
I'm going with something that would be probably considered progressive pop. So this is the Alan Parsons project.
Oh yeah.
This is an earlier one, so they're usually associated with like a lot of pop because of some of their hits. But this one here is an earlier one, which is fantastic. It actually has like the tournament friendly card is like 16-minute suite that's on here. So, I mean, there's prog on here. There's pop on here. There's like a lot of melody on it. And there's one song on here, I think it's in the suite called Nothing Left to Lose, which is like just phenomenal workout, which leads into this incredible guitar solo. Every time I hear it, it's like I'm blown away by it. So,
and he's still out playing concerts and everything, still putting out albums too.
Yeah. So that's my number 10. You know,
Well, early in my record collecting and listening career, I used to get those guys confused with Electric Light Orchestra
yeah.
a little bit, but then it became very distinctive. But yeah, Alan Parsons is very proggy.
Well, we're getting a lot of Kansas talk at the moment,
Oh, here we go.
but yeah, Kerry Livgren was the main prog writer, and I almost pulled out his first solo album, which I think is superb. It's one of my all-time favorite albums.
Yeah.
Is that the one
But,
with Dio singing on track
yeah.
3 on side 2?
He sings on 2
Side
tracks
2.
on there. Yeah.
Oh, 2 tracks.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's also a rare promo single of that album as well. So, anyhow, you're up, Carcass.
Well, before I get way down the path, the Scorpions' Lonesome Crow, and this is the goofy cover from the Japanese pressing. The Mexican pressing also looks like that without the OB. But
Yep.
Listen to Lonesome Crow, and you'll think. In fact, the drummer and the bass player was Lothar, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but anyway, Lothar Hamburg, and anyway, these guys were. This was a straight up jazz fusion band with a rock flavor to it. It was kind of like Electromagnets with the Eric Johnson thing. But this is one of my favorite records by the Scorpions. I mean, I like their other stuff too. It's kind of like UFO. You know, I really like the early psychedelic stuff, but I like the more poppy, straightforward rock stuff. But this, bar none, this is right. If I'm going to the island with 20 prog records, this is definitely going to be in the stack.
Right on. Good one.
That's a good one, no doubt.
I'm going to pull this one up to the beginning. It wasn't one that I was planning on showing right away, but since Kansas was one of the ones I was going to show, I pulled this one as well. Speaking of the other vocalists, this is John Elefante's On My Way to the Sun. This is a fantastic prog album. I believe one of the songs on here is like 12 minutes long, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's my favorite John Elefante album. Very different from like the stuff he did with Mastodon, which was way more AOR. I'm not sure how else to say it, but yeah, this is just great stuff. If you like Kansas, if you like prog rock, this is the one to check out. He has a newer album out too. Do you remember, John? Do you remember what the name of the newer album was?
The Amazing Grace, I think is.
Yeah, The Amazing Grace. Now that album is different. It's not quite as proggy as this one. It's a little more straightforward, melodic rock, AOR. Whereas this one is just pure prog.
Well, I think Rich Williams, the guitar player, is on the opening track of that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Kansas.
And then there's another guy on here too who just put out who's the guy that just put out the prog album himself with John Elefante singing on half the tracks?
Frank Boxberger.
Yeah, Frank Boxberger. What's the name? The name of the album though was
Perfect Vision.
Perfect Vision. That's what they're calling the band, even though it's not. It's Frank Boxberger, but yeah, he's actually wrote a lot of this too along with him, but he just put out a new album too. But yeah, great album. You can get this on CD. You can get this on Gold Max CD or regular CD, and obviously you can get it on vinyl since I have the vinyl sitting right here. It does have a bonus 7-inch inside of it because it did not fit on one album. But yeah, great album from John Elefante if you're into Kansas, because that's exactly where he's from. You're up, Kev.
Well, back in, I think must have been 78 when I was living in Duluth, Minnesota. I did a lot of flipping through stacks of vinyl every day, every week. 3 years I lived there, and I came across this Jade Warrior Kites album. And
I'm gonna solo you for a second so we can see that, because I'm having a hard time seeing it.
This Jade Warrior Kites album. Anyway,
interesting.
I kind of fell in love with their sound. They're progressive, very progressive, keys heavy, but for the longest time I was searching for this album, which is Lost Autumn's Dream.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a vertical swirl, which is, I came across this at a store up in Fargo one day. I was going through there, and I opened it up. I put it back, grabbed it, looked at it, pulled the album out without even looking at the album. And it's very good, by the way. Vertical Swirl. But those, another 70s band that, came out about 73, 74, and of course, again, the early days, there was a lot of experimentation in that sound too. So, but
wasn't What was the name of the band again? I'm writing it down.
Jade Warrior.
Jade Warrior.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's I don't know.
Got to check it out. I'm always looking for new stuff, so that's awesome.
But yeah, very definitely progressive rock in nature. Very, very, very well. They kind of mix a little bit of both.
Yeah, Dolphin Dale said Carrie Livgren AD Prime Mover is one of my favorites. Yep, that's a good one. All right, you're up again, John.
Okay. I'm doing CDs here, so
No, it's okay. It doesn't matter if it's CDs or vinyl, cassettes, 8 tracks.
This is the band Saga. So
I'm
this
going to
is
blow it up so you can see you.
The Canadian band?
the Canadian band Saga.
Yep.
So this is an earlier one. I think this one is from 1980. But Silent Night. They're another band that's kind of like proggy pop a little bit. You know, a lot of
I've
keyboards in there.
I've always called them prog light.
Yeah, I would say that's right. Yeah, there's a lot of keyboards, but they're really good. This particular one I like because it has some really good guitar work.
That's
on
a great
it.
album.
Yeah,
I have it on CD too.
I think they first surfaced about 77, didn't they? Up in Canada.
Yeah. They did.
Yep.
They have a bunch.
I
of
remember seeing them. I have quite a few of the Saga albums, and of course,
Yeah.
I mean, with the Saga, everybody knows. What is that? On the Loose.
On the Loose. Yeah. So this one,
Cool.
this is my favorite one of theirs.
What,
Well, I
you
think
know what
it
year that
was-
one came out?
What's that?
1980.
You said
Yeah, this was
1980. That one.
Yeah, 1980. Yeah.
Damien Hair Metal agrees with you. Great Saga album.
But like many of those bands, they put out a couple records, Kansas, Journey, all those bands, and then they needed to sell records, and so of course they changed their tune a little bit. I mean, they're still. I remember that band, and I remember their early stuff was really a lot more progressive than they became later on. But
Yeah, later on they got more commercial sound. Yeah.
a lot of bands in the
World
80s.
Apart was probably their
That
most
was it.
successful one.
Yeah,
And
a
I
lot of
think
bands
that-
in the 80s went more poppy. Okay, well, this is a stunner, but I had this epiphany on the way home from work today. But Steely Dan, Asia. Anybody?
I love that album.
I have that album.
That's my favorite.
I think
I think everybody has that album.
well, but yeah, find it on the original master pressing. It really sounds even better. I mean, these guys never toured. All they did was put out killer records.
Yeah,
And so I just was thinking about it, and I thought, that fits. I read that little definition, and I out of the dictionary, and I thought, you know what, this fits the bill for me. And it's got a little jazz, it's got horns, it's got keys, and great guitar work. I mean, Skunk Baxter was playing from the Doobie Brothers. I don't know, man. I really dig that one. I think it's extremely progressive. So
all their albums are really good.
sure.
The musicianship is phenomenal.
Yeah, and I thought it was odd because I always wanted to see them live growing up, but then they never toured, and
But they always got lumped into the commercial scene. I mean,
yeah.
they did have that popular sound, but I mean, other than their hit songs, they had some great tunes. Other than them,
Yeah. So
we're getting a question about the logo in the top right corner.
yeah,
They're
man,
asking-
the Metal Round Table. You can't read that?
I don't know. It's clear as day to me. It's the
mean-
Metal Round Table. Yeah, it's clear as day.
Oh.
Yeah, we have multiple logos. That's our death metal, black metal, whatever you want to call it logo.
Just FYI, John, since you're new, as I used to wear shirts that nobody could read and everyone gave me grief about it, so I did a Metal Round Table logo for the heck of it that nobody can read, evidently. So that's mission accomplished.
All right, my next one up.
Yep,
this is
you're
another kind of an obscure one. It looks like a 70s album. It's actually from 1980, but this is Jimmy Hotz and Beyond the Crystal Sea.
Yeah, I have.
This is freaking brilliant album. I think Steve actually talked about this one in a show not too long ago. I think when we did our 70s show, he showed this one. But yeah, the fantastic prog album. I don't even remember if he had anything else out. He's done other things musically, but I don't think he ever released another solo album quite like this that I know about. You, John?
I don't know anything else by that except for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I was out in the record store and I already had this on CD and vinyl with Steve, and I ran across him like, dude, you need to get that. It's a fantastic album. He's like, all right, it wasn't expensive, so he got it, and he fell in love with it too. And then one time I had it playing in the background of one of my videos, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know who the metal theologian is, Aaron. He's he's kind of well known on the internet for his humorous channel. But anyhow, he got a hold of me. He's like, dude, what was that playing in the background? I'm like, oh, it's Jimmy Hotz, and he picked it up and loved it too. So if you love 70s prog, man, or psych, this is a hot album. It's worth picking up, and it's not a real expensive one because nobody knows about it. It was released on CD, but it's never been reissued on vinyl. It's only been reissued on CD. So there you go, Jimmy Hotz, Beyond the Crystal Sea. You're up again, Kev.
A lot of those bands back in them days. I mean, again, it depends on where you live. You know, maybe they only put out a few pressings. So I mean, once they're out, they're done. But luckily, you know, we got a lot of these labels nowadays that are repressing these and putting them back out. You know, and which is fine. I love it.
Oh, hold on 1 second before you start. I just got to say, hey, my buddy Bobby Gass is with us, and that's awesome. Bobby's a long time DCer, longer than me.
So anyway,
go ahead. Sorry.
One of my favorites has to be this Rush 2112. First side, amazing. I mean, that is, to me, this is just like Scott had mentioned with his previous album, brilliant album. I think, to me, this is where they started to go more progressive in nature. But I think,
since you pulled out Rush, I decided to show Hemispheres too, because I think that this is a prog rock masterpiece.
Yeah, but this is I can't remember what. This is a limited edition repress.
The 40th anniversary or something like that.
I think when I wanted to take the hype sticker off, it ripped on me. So
you cut it out with an X-Acto knife and glue it on with a glue stick, yo.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, especially side one.
Yeah.
2112 was just brilliant.
Yeah, I remember
again, John.
Yeah. I have going back to 73, Wishbone Ash. This is their live dates. So a lot of people, I mean, Wishbone Ash is one of those bands that people don't realize were one of the most influential with that dual guitar sound. You know, a lot of bands were influenced by them, but you mention their name to a lot of people and they haven't heard of them, you know, but this was their first live album, Live Dates. So this like, I think they're a really good live band.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. And like Scott said, I got to see them, I guess it was 2022. And I got to see them in a 300 seat theater. So you know that they're not as you know, well known, but they were just as good. It was one of the original members there that was leading it. So, and they were fantastic. And they did this album, Argus, in its entirety in the concert, and some other stuff as well too from this thing. But yeah, this has been a favorite of mine since it came out in the 70s, 73 Live Dates.
I think
they were the
Ash,
go ahead.
And I just had it. Status Quo. They were kind of the two bands that were the dual guitar attacks. And
yeah.
Them and Thin Lizzy, those were all,
Lizzy.
Yep, definitely. So we got, I don't know who. Hey, John, do you know who Carcass? John, do you know who this is?
Yes. Carnal Forge,
so
killer thrash, Swedish thrash band.
So anyhow, apparently he has cancer and is looking for donations. So if anybody's watching the video, look it up, give him a hand.
Yeah,
there you go. You're up, Carcass.
Yeah, I was going to say that Wishbone Ash is one of those obscure bands that are just fantastic, but they're kind of like Zebra. You know, it's like nobody knows who they are, and then they hear the songs and they go, "Wait a minute, yeah, I know that band," because it got played. But I wish I'd seen Wishbone Ash, but I never did. Well, you guys are talking obscurities, but I'm going to pull out in a really obscure one.
Wow,
Easter Island. Anybody?
Nope.
No,
okay, just look them up. Easter Island. This has got everything from almost a reggae thing to just full blown rock fusion on it. Lots of keyboards. It's freaking awesome. You would really dig it. So, and it's a little pricey. So I would advise looking it up on YouTube and listening to it there. And if you really like it that much, just keep hunting for a cheaper copy. I've had people offer me a pretty fair sum for that, but because once again. And you'll like this, Scott. This was a New Jersey band, Millville, New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
Familiar with Millville?
Yep.
Yep.
That's where
Actually,
they're from.
John is from New Jersey, so
You know,
Yeah.
Millville.
Okay. So this was number 72 out of 350. So they weren't exactly flying off the shelf, but I remember seeing them on a West Coast swing, and I didn't know who they were. I just thought they were great, so I bought a record, and
that's cool.
have enjoyed
Damon
it.
Hair
ever
Metal got
since.
to meet Martin Turner
Yeah.
from Wishbone Ash. That's cool. Oh, I'm up. Huh. This is an obvious one. This is not obscure whatsoever, and it was really hard for me to pick one album, but this is the album that made me a fan of this band back in the 70s. And
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
Fragile.
Funny you should say that, because I did kind of the same thing. That's I listened to Fragile, and then I sort of waved them off after Close to the Edge. But this Relayer record is I've fallen back on it, and it's really, really, really good and super, super progressive. Not poppy at all, but good choice on
Yep.
that one.
And then, of course, I pulled this one out too because I think this thing is awesome as well. That's
Oh yeah.
the Record Store Day alternate takes and everything.
Dude,
So,
that is killer.
I love John Anderson's voice. He's got such a unique voice. It's high, it's clean, but he doesn't sound like nobody sounds like John Anderson to me. It's odd to hear Yes albums now, the newer Yes albums without him on them. So it's a little bit odd to me. But anyhow, yeah, I love this album. It's one of my all-time favorites. But I could have gone with that one too. And another one I love is, and I know it's not a fan favorite, is Tormato.
I love Tormato.
I love that.
Same here.
So did you pull any Starcastle?
Oddly enough, here's my little note: pull Starcastle, and guess what I never did.
Yeah,
Pull
I did
Starcastle.
the same thing. In fact, if anybody sounded close to John Anderson, it would be Terry Luttrell, who was the original singer for REO Speedwagon, oddly enough. And man, I love those first three albums. And then once again, Epic tells them you need to sell more records, and they put out that fourth one that is just a piece of garbage. I mean, it's not a complete piece of garbage, but it's such a diversion from what they were doing.
Yeah,
that it almost feels like a letdown. Anyway, sorry to steal your fire there.
Hey, George is here. What's up, George? George is G's Room of Rock. All right, Kev, you're up again.
All right. This band here, they've been around, God, a German band. They must have been around since late 60s. I wasn't really introduced to this band until, I don't know, probably later in life. But once I started listening to them, I went back, tried to find all their stuff. It's really hard to find a lot of their original material, but I'm talking about Eloy.
Yeah. Great band.
Silent Cries and Mighty Echoes. Really a great album, but
they're a hit and a miss. They're a hit and a miss, though. They
are
really great, and some of them are like, what are they doing?
This is one of the older one, or one of the newer ones. I think this is probably about 10 years old, maybe by now. But this is Division, the Sword, and the Pyre, and that one there is a great one too, Scott.
Yeah,
but there's part 2 of this as well. That was their last album. But yeah, they're hit and miss.
I was trying to decide between Eloy and Gentle Giant, and I pulled that Eloy. Should have pulled the Gentle Giant. Oh well.
No, you're good. I bet you have extras.
Yeah, I do. I pulled extras. So go ahead, Don. You're up again.
All right, this is another one from the 70s. Nectar's Return.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
this
I'll
is their deluxe. Yeah, this one I think is more. I mean, I remember this one and the one that followed it, Down to Earth, which was completely like different, like shorter songs. This one is like, just 2 songs, the part 1 and part 2. This is like their deluxe. This has like 5 discs on it, so it has like a Blu-ray of it as well.
Live? Does it have any live stuff on it?
I think it has a live concert from Germany in 1974 on it as well.
Yeah, that's on my.
What was the one?
That's on my wish I had it list.
What was the one with the double-decker bus on it?
That was Down to Earth.
Oh, that's Down to Earth. Okay.
Yeah,
that was a great album too, but it wasn't quite as proggy.
It's different. It's kind of like shorter songs, but I love that one going up too. So, but this one I think is it's more progressive. It just like has so many movements in it. So
sure,
love this one.
What's the album? What's the name of the album? I'm sorry, I know it, but I say it for the audience.
Oh, Remember the Future.
There you go.
Okay.
We're trying to remember to say the names of the albums because we're going to be going podcasts soon. And if we don't say the name of the album, people can't see us. So, and I do it all the time too. So anyhow, I'm going to skip you real quick, John, because look.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to go back to you.
Yep.
Okay. Both
I
of
couldn't
those are
decide.
phenomenal.
I mean, this has one of their probably only hits on it in King of Twilight. If you can even call it a hit, it's kind of a minor hit. Iron Maiden covered it back in the day. Iron Maiden were actually big fans of Nectar, which I found out in the 80s. But my favorite Nectar album is and will always be Recycled, which I think is a precursor to industrial rock, industrial metal. It's a very industrial album. It's still progressive, very progressive actually, but it's got a lot of industrial elements on it too, and it's got some fantastic artwork as you can see, front and back.
That was my
And
intro to Nectar there.
Mine too, and that may be why I like it so much. I walked into, I don't know if you guys remember the place called Woolworths. I went into Woolworths and it was like a 5 and dime store back in the day, and they had this big stack of 8 tracks for like 50 cents. And this was in the 80s. And this was one I picked up, this and the Sex Pistols, never mind the Bullocks, and Thin Lizzy's Black Rose on 8-track tape. And my buddy still had an 8-track in his old beater car. So, man, I played this thing to death. But there's actually also, there's 2 different versions of this. There's a US pressing, and which is this one on the Passport label, which is a gatefold. And then there's another one in the UK, and the mixes are completely different.
Yeah.
The UK version is a lot heavier, if that's the right word. The US pressing is more is cleaner. I guess the US company didn't think it was professional enough or clean
It was
enough.
a little less muddy, but I think it loses something when it's
yeah,
too
it definitely lost something. So anyhow, you're go ahead, John. You're up, and then we'll skip to Kevin.
Well,
I just wanted to tag on the Nectar thing.
I'm going to do this for Fraser Dawson's, just for him, because I know he's sitting on pins and needles waiting. But I could have pulled every Osric Tentacles record that there is known to mankind, and I guess this is the new band. They're not a new band. They've been doing stuff since '86 or '85. But
yep.
And this is Waterfall Cities that just came out on vinyl. But I have to include this album by Ed Wynn, who's the guitarist and brainchild of Osric Tentacles. He's on there's a band called Grace Rooms, and there's a guy named Gray Vanderloo that helps him out on this record. This thing is like super guitar driven with the ambient keys and sweeping like we're getting used to with Prog. But this thing is fantastic. This would almost be a pick of the week. But this is Ed Wynn's and Gray Vanderloo. It's what is it called? Oh, Tumbling Through. Oh, geez, I can't even read my own. Tumbling Through the Float Verse. So if you can find it, buy it. But super prog. I mean, you want to talk about progressive, and this is a more modern sound. It's not like your typical 70s or 80s. It's not like Yes. It's not like the old Scorpions or Wishbone Ash. It's very modern, but it's super, super like Dream Theater.
Yeah, what would you call Dream Theater? I call Dream Theater prog rock, and maybe the early stuff even prog metal. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Prog or proto metal.
You're up, Kev.
Well, speaking of Dream Theater, but this is an offshoot. Of course, we got Flying Colors here. Which is, I think this was their first album, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's John Petrucci and Mike Portnoy, but
yeah, it's Steve Morris, Casey McPherson, Neil Morris, Dave LaRue, and Mike Portnoy.
Yeah.
But this is a really good album. But I think they maybe did 3 albums. I mean, Mike Portnoy's been in and out of bands like a lot of these guys, but of course now he's back in Dream Theater. And but yeah, I was really hesitant on buying this Flying Colors, but when I heard some samples of it, I went, wow, this is absolutely killer. It's one of those albums that, how they grow on you with each listen. This one definitely is one of those albums.
You're up again, John.
Okay. So I know we already talked about Kansas. So I
right.
picked the song for America. I know, although I agree with you, I think Mask is like a pinnacle. And I also think I actually like the later one, Monolith, which doesn't get a lot of love.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
love that one too.
Yeah, but this one, the reason why this one is like special to me is I remember watching Kansas on the Don Kirshner's rock concert when they first came out, and I told my mother, "Can you go get me the first Kansas album?" And then she went and they didn't have it. So she said this was what they had, Song for America. So that was my first vinyl of Kansas. And so it's kind of like got a special place in my heart. But I like the whole catalog I like, but this one kind of like has special memories to me. So
well, the Song for America is awesome. And then Lamplight Symphony might be one of the greatest love songs ever.
Yeah, it is. Definitely. And it's interesting. It has a couple like it opens up with that Down the Road, which is like this rocker.
That is a rocker.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I love this album.
Right on.
Boy, we're not that short on time.
We got 15 minutes.
I'm going to show two since we someone said German bands, and I think the German folks had kind of a corner on the market there for a while.
Early on, you bet.
Orange Peel. Anybody ever heard of Orange Peel?
I have.
Nope.
Yes.
Great German band. This is a phenomenal record. This is just the self-titled. They put out a 7-inch and this full length, and I think that was it. And are you familiar with Ash Ra Temple?
Yep.
This probably bends more on the psychedelic side. It's super, super progressive. Lots of keyboards. This is a very expensive record, but they thought of everything. I mean, it opens up. It's like a weird gatefold. It's got lyrics in German and English for so they're covering all their bases. But if you can find one, I know it's been reissued, so you shouldn't have to pay the $800 or $900 that the original pressing like this one costs. I didn't pay that. I got it in a trade, and I feel pretty fortunate because it's worth having. But I think the reissue is probably 60 to 80, so be ready for that. But listen to it, and it's great. Ash Ra Temple, ASHRA, and then the word temple, and you won't be disappointed. But very, very psychedelic. In fact, John Perez, one of our local guitar heroes with Solitude Eternus, has a psychedelic band called Liquid Sound, and his band sounds very, very much like Ash Ra Temple. They draw a lot of influence from them too. So,
I know you see a lot of these bands that have reissues that they only put out a few amount back in the early days. Even a lot of those reissues now that I have are hard to find. And
well, it's so expensive to put them out, so they run them, and their true fans buy them.
Yep.
If they don't have them already, and
yeah, because I notice when I usually go over to Rockadrome and I buy some stuff out of there, a lot of that stuff I click on is out of stock already. You got to be really quick in some of them places.
Ash Ra Temple, 1970 to 2001. Let's look them up.
Oh, they're still doing stuff?
Wow.
Well,
or you can
2001 is when they called it quits.
Okay.
But anyhow, Frumpy. There's another one I forgot about. I could have pulled Frumpy.
Oh yeah, they're great. Man, that gal's got a great voice.
So much good stuff. All right, who's up? Me?
Oh. Europe.
I'm going to go with this really, really obscure band that no one's probably ever heard of called Genesis out of the UK.
I just left those in the room because I knew you would pull Genesis.
Yeah, that's why I didn't pull. That's why I didn't pull Osric Tentacles, because I knew you would. But man, I had a hard time deciding which one, and so I pulled one from each of the two eras of the band. So this is the Peter Gabriel era, and gosh, I could pull any of their albums. I just love the Peter Gabriel era. But from the Phil Collins era, I pulled Duke, which I know most people think of as a pop record because it does have a couple of big hits on it. But Duke and Abacab really were prog albums. I mean, the song Abacab itself is like 8 minutes long, and it's nothing but a jam. But so is Duke. I mean, behind the lines and Duchess, those are just straight up prog songs. So, but yeah, I've always loved this band. This is one of the ones I've been into since I literally was a kid. So
I really like the I really like, and then there were three.
I like it, and then there were three too.
Because it's more of a straight on rock record, but it's a prog rock record. Those, like you said, are a little more polished, a little more poppy. But I like the rawness of, and then there were three. Plus, they were trying to find their footing after their split
then,
with
of course,
Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, this one does have a couple hits on it, Misunderstanding and Turn It On Again.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm a just Genesis fanatic. Well, I've worn Genesis shirts multiple times on the show. So, but anyhow, Genesis, you're up again, Kev.
All
I
right,
kept
here
it
we go.
short because we're
Another
running out of
70s
time.
band, but this is actually a newer release from this man, Crack the Sky.
Oh wow, they're still
Oh,
putting
yeah.
out records.
Yeah, they're still out there. I think they have another one right after this. This one is called Tribes, and this is fantastic. But yeah, I used to listen to them on college radio station out of Superior, Wisconsin, back in the late '70s, and I kind of got into this band back then. They have quite a few albums out. Of course, John Palumbo is the main guy of Crack the Sky. I mean, he's very unique to this band, you know, just like I don't know, a lot of some of the bands we just showed. But yeah, they're still putting out some great music.
Awesome. You're up, John.
I'm going with Marillion, Clutching at Straws.
Oh man, that's a good one. How did I forget that?
Yeah. So 1987. This is probably my latest one, my latest year-wise, but 87. But this is great. This is the last album with the original singer Fish. And this is it's like a concept album of this guy who falls on hard times. Everything goes wrong with him, turns to drugs, alienated from his kids and stuff. But just a fantastic album from beginning to end. So I love this one.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I don't know how I forgot about them, but they're a fantastic band.
So speaking of Marillion, what do you think of Envy of None? Have you heard that with Alec Lifeson and then I think it's the bass player from Marillion?
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Scott doesn't like it.
I'm actually sitting here listening to you guys trying to racking my brain. I'm sure smoke's coming out because I'm trying to remember a German band that I love, but I can't remember the freaking name. It's driving me up a wall.
Anyhow,
yeah, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to show 3 quick ones because I want to make sure that I get the metal represented. Opeth Pale Communion. Cannot argue with this. This thing is Deep Purple doing jazz fusion, except, well, Deep Purple doing jazz fusion. Opeth Pale Communion. I don't know about their stuff nowadays, but that's going to the island with me. This one will make Kevin. This will give him happy feet. Threshold.
Yeah, I love Threshold.
Threshold, and this is let's see. Wounded Land.
That's a
phenomenal record. And Nuclear Blast just put this out on double 180 colored vinyl, and it sounds pretty freaking awesome.
A lot of that early Threshold is really good.
Yeah, they're all really good. I saw them with Conception and Brainstorm at an Atlanta Prog Fest.
This the Threshold you're talking about?
20 years ago, yes.
Yep.
And then last but not least, I know this is a reach, but this is Tomb Mold from Canada. This is pure death metal, but if you like Blood Incantation with their sweeping Pink Floydian vocals and riffs, you'll love this. This even has a song with horns in it, and it doesn't sound fabricated. It sounds exactly like it should. And these guys have gone from just straight up death metal to just a brilliant band. And so The Enduring Spirit is the name of this record. If you're into the heavier stuff, this is a must. This is like the Blood Incantation. This was my record of the year, 2 years ago? 22 or 23?
Yeah, not that long ago. Well, right on. We're running out of time, so I'll do a few real quick, and I'll just be quick on them. But here's my metal inclusion. Triton, Blood of Kings. We actually had Larry Dean on the show not too long ago, but Eric Gillette is also on this, and Eric Gillette is he's just one of those musical geniuses. He plays so many instruments, and he's also in a lot of different bands. What's the drummer from Dream Theater? We just said his name a minute ago.
Mike Portnoy.
He was in Mike Portnoy's solo band for a while too. So yeah, this thing's fantastic. They got 3 albums out. The first 3 people often compare to Rush. This one, I don't think you can compare to Rush, except for maybe Larry's vocals kind of have that Geddy Lee similarity. I really don't think they ever sounded like Rush, other than that. But people often
that one album that I had on cassette. What was that? The white
Celestial Messenger.
Yeah, now that sounded a lot more Rush-like than that one does. But there are some similarities. But yeah, that's not a copy by any means.
Celestial Messenger is actually going to be getting a vinyl release this year, and as well, a remastered vinyl release with a couple of tracks that apparently were not put on the album when it first came out for some reason. So that's kind of cool. But anyhow, Triton. These next three I'm going to show them quickly because I don't have a lot to say about them. These are all bands I discovered in the last year, and I'm kind of obsessed with these three bands, and I've been trying to buy up everything from them. But I've shown this one before, the Fusion Syndicate. This is kind of a project band, so it's not like I don't think there's like a whole lot of members that are like on every album, but every single album has like these major players. Like this one here has let's see, Marty Friedman playing guitar on here, Bobby Krieger from The Doors, Chester Thompson from Genesis. I mean, every album's got just this list of, as you can see here, of all these different players on it. And the style, it's prog rock. You've heard it, but they'll get into like funk at times, and they'll get into jazz at times, and so it's fantastic stuff. I think I have two of their albums. I think they have 3 or 4. This album is really, really, really new to me, and it's actually John down in the bottom right hand corner down there who turned me on to this band. But so far I have 2 from this band. This is the Tangent. Wow, these guys are awesome. And they're a newer band. They're not like, this is not 70s. This one here is what, 2009, 2008. I can't read the little teeny right at the bottom, but
the Laser's Edge carries that band quite a bit over there. The Tangent.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, it's just really good prog rock. Definitely, it's definitely inspired by the 70s bands. There's no doubt about it. You're going to hear, Yes and King Crimson and all that kind of stuff mixed in here.
And some jazzy stuff too.
And some jazz stuff too. Yep. So I think I have 2 of their albums so far. And I think this is their latest, right? A Place in the Queue.
No, the latest one is the to Follow Polaris.
Oh, okay.
That's the latest one. That one.
I have that one sitting up here somewhere too. But anyhow, I'm going to move on. And then this is an old 70s band that I now have 3 albums by, and I don't know much about them, but this particular album here caught my attention. Actually, I think John and I were talking on the phone one day, and we discovered this band, it was actually the album cover that caught my attention because it's obviously a Roger Dean cover. And even the logo has got that Roger Dean look to it. Yeah. So this is fantastic album. Like I said, I got 3 albums, but so far this one is my favorite. But again, that could be because it was my first one. Kevin actually has some of their stuff too. So there you go. Go ahead. You're up, Kevin. I have one more to show after in the next round.
Go real quick with these. I got 4 albums here. First one is up, a band called Griffin. Very progressive. Red Queen to Griffin 3 is the title of the album. Let's see. This came out in '74 on the Bell label, actually. Very good stuff. And then we got Spain's version of Black Sabbath, which is Warlock, the Spanish version, 3-piece band. They actually do a cover of Paranoid. It's so-so, but anyway. Then we got the Haystacks of Balboa. I think John Carcass really likes this one. And
I thought they only had a 7-inch, but you changed my mind on that one.
Yeah.
So I'm on the hunt.
A lot of these over there. And then the last one is really a classic, kind of an underground cult classic. Caterpillar. Changes.
Oh. I've seen that one before. I don't own that one though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we're getting some suggestions on here. So Charred Walls of the Damned.
Shannon also said something about the band Atheist from Florida, and that those guys are super progressive. It's progressive death metal thrash.
I saw them in concert a number of years back.
Charred Walls of the Damned second album just came out on vinyl, like just went on sale like last week or week before, like something like that. And somebody, Shamgar said, loves the Blood of Kings. Yeah, that I love that album too. I think it was in my top 5 the year it came out. I can't remember what year it was now. But anyhow, go ahead. You're up, John.
All right, you want me to do I have 4 left. You want me to do all of them?
Yeah, do them all.
Sure, go ahead. Do them all. We're running out of time.
This probably doesn't require any introduction. Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Brain Salad Surgery. Yeah, and this is like a CD one that kind of opens up like the vinyl did.
Yeah. So that's Geiger art, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for me is Close to the Edge. That's my album. I mean, you can't go wrong with that one.
It is I love the cover, even though I know it's very simple, but it's Roger Dean's just awesome.
Then my Genesis pick is A Trick of the Tail. I absolutely love this album. This is with Phil Collins, but it's very progressive, and it's progressive before they became more poppy. later on. I mean, they still stay progressive, but I think this album is like incredible. And Steve Hackett's still on here too. So
and did have one hit on it, Robbery,
Yeah.
Assault and Battery.
Yeah, Robbery, Assault and Battery is on there. So
It was more of a hit in the UK, but still.
Yeah. And then my last one, which I've loved for years since it came out, is Todd Rundgren's Utopia. This is really prog. I mean, he's got a 30-minute song on here, like the Icon. And some people say, oh, well, it could be cut down. I think there's, like, from beginning to end, I don't think there's anything wasted, even in the 30-minute song, because he keeps it interesting. It's like goes in so many different directions.
Well, shockingly, John, that was one of my picks of the week last week.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yes, you're right. You're exactly right, 100%. And not so surprising, I pulled that the Emerson, Lake and Palmer also.
Actually, my first rock shirt was actually an ELP shirt.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, back in '74.
I never got to see them live. I would have liked to see them live, but I never did.
Dolph Van Dale suggested to try the Smiths, which was their third album. They went from being a thrash band to definitely a progressive. It's definitely progressive metal. It's not rock, but it's a good album. Yeah,
it's I'm thinking. Well, no, it might. Yeah, weren't they kind of thrash?
They were. Their first two albums were thrashed. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Detritus from the UK. Their third album was definitely a departure in sound, but it was also like 20 years difference between that album and the album before it. So
true. Okay,
you're up, John. And I have one more myself.
Anybody heard of Steve Hillage?
Oh yeah.
You need to lock down on this guy. This is probably my favorite Steve Hillage, but they're all great. Have you heard of Bland Bladen?
Nope.
Cool artwork. Bland Bladen. Write it down, Scott. You're gonna want to find one of these. This album in particular.
Show me again, because I just sold you so I could see it better. Yeah, that's a good. I don't know that one.
Bland Bladen. Bladen.
There was such great, fantastic artwork back in them 70s. I mean, just like today, but a lot of it goes under the radar.
Here's a more modern one. I could have picked any of the Elders, especially the especially the Gold and Silver Sessions. But this Reflections of a Floating World is fantastic. Yeah. Killer, very progressive. They added keyboards on this, so I really dig it. And here's a real reach, but I really like this guy, Sturgill Simpson.
Yep.
He's like progressive prog country, but with a rock twist to it. It's really interesting. This album in particular is fantastic. It's called Meta Modern Sounds in Country Music, and it really is. It's like he's almost reinventing a new genre of country music, and it's not red dirt, and it's not bro, and it's not whatever. This is solid. If Merle Haggard played guitar like Steve Hackett or Stevie Ray Vaughan, it would be this record right here.
I can't think of the Sturgill Simpson I have, but it's an orange cover with the car on. I can't think of the name of the album right off.
Oh yeah. That was a soundtrack, and it was very, very progressive.
That was actually pretty heavy album from Sturgill Simpson.
Yeah, but if you want to get a real taste for it, this was his third record. I saw him live, open for Willie Nelson, and he stole the show as much as I love old Willie. But anyway. But as Scott says, we could go on forever, and I probably could, but I just stopped pulling after 10 minutes.
I only have one more, and this one might be debatable as being a prog album, but it's one of my favorites from this artist. But the third album from Peter Gabriel, I think this album's brilliant. It's one of the ones I revisit constantly. Phil Collins plays drums on here. And I love hearing this. You ever see like the shows where they talk about how the album was made? And I got to see Phil Collins talking about this one and he got into the studio and to play drums for the album, and there was no cymbals set up in the studio. And he's like, "Where's the cymbals?" And he's like, "There are no cymbals. We're not going to use cymbals in this album." So there was literally no cymbals used on this album. So he had to totally change the way he played to play on this album, and that's kind of how he got that quote cavernous drum sound that he ended up using on his first solo album, was because of this album here when playing with Peter Gabriel. So, but yeah, I love this album so much. It's one of those ones where I've got multiple copies, but I also have the German pressing where he actually sings the whole album in German. So the first I think you can get the first 3 Peter Gabriel albums in German with German lyrics. So yeah, I mean it's the same music, but different vocal recordings, obviously in German and English. So yeah, some people call it the Melt, but it's basically Peter Gabriel 3. And that's my last one for. I almost pulled some Voivod too because I mean they're just such a great prog band, but there's
Limit.
just, like I said, there's just so much you could pull, and I was like, man, I'm running out of. I'm only supposed to do 10.
We sort of mentioned King Crimson, and does anyone think Pink Floyd is progressive?
Yes, I nearly pulled metal, but I didn't.
I had Wish You Were Here, but you know.
Or how about this one? This thing is brilliant. This Ark Matheos album.
Oh yeah.
This is getting a vinyl reissue, I believe, this year as well. So I'm ready. And so is the first EP, the John Ark EP, which is Ark Matheos as well. It's called an EP. It only has 2 songs on it, but it's like 30 minutes long. It's longer than a Van Halen album. So
right. Or a Slayer Rain in Blood.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what 27 minutes long.
We're getting a request for second chapter 2 of this episode, so maybe we'll have to do that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we definitely could do more. We could do one that's more metal focused,
Sure.
Because we showed a lot of more rock stuff in this one, but cool. Well, I appreciate having John. Steve never made it, so I guess he never got home from work. Hopefully, he actually gets home from work eventually. But yeah, that was a whirlwind of records, man. And I love doing these because I always discover. Matter of fact, I wrote down Elder, but I forgot. I didn't write it down quick enough to get the name of the album that you said.
Reflections of a Floating World.
It's all in education with us. All the new music.
And you need to find the Gold and Silver sessions by them too. It's absolutely incredible.
I also saw that
newer album out, The Elder.
They do have a new album out.
I thought they released, yeah.
And it's great too, but I just haven't got it yet. I'm trying to pinch pennies.
Yeah,
and that Nectar box set made me salivate too. That's been on my.
Nectar actually has a couple recent albums. They have an album that came out in 2024, Mission to Mars, and in 2020 they think it's called The Time Machine, and they're really good. They're still good music.
Yeah, Nectar's still doing decent. I didn't like the they did a covers album, which I thought was fantastic. It's just not great to me. For a covers album, I like when bands actually. We should do a covers song, just an album, a show on cover songs sometime or cover albums. But in any case, I like when bands take covers and make them their own. You know what I mean? This sounds like, it's a Yes song, but wow, that sounds like Judas Priest doing a Yes song. That's the way it should be to me. But that Nectar album, they tried sticking so close to the originals, it was like, might as well just listen to the originals. Yeah. So anyhow. But anyhow, that's it for this episode. So appreciate everybody coming. So and watching, we had quite a few people commenting. I was having a hard time keeping up with the comments again, which is awesome. And I'm bantering on because I'm trying to find the ending banner stuff here.
Thanks for joining us today, John.
Yeah, always appreciate. I've been trying to get John on for quite a while, so I've been promising him this Prog episode for a while. So I'm glad we finally got him on. So yeah, John and I talk almost every day on the phone because we work together. So it was awesome having you on.
When we started the Metal Roundtable 254 episodes ago,
5.
This is our 255th, but
yeah, true.
This is truly what we had in mind. It was just you. At first, it was just Rob and I, and then it expanded to Scott, and then and this is what we've always wanted to have. If people just chime in, even when we have guests, we'd rather hear their opinion on. Like I remember when we had Caton on, we were talking about Thin Lizzy and Aerosmith and Ted Nugent and all that stuff with him too, and so it was great to not only hear his music journey, but to hear his music opinion too. So appreciate you taking the time out for us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. New Hyrex soon.
Yeah, there is a new Hyrex album. It's actually, you can order it now. But yep. And there's also a 4-song 7-inch that's new out too with new music on it. So if anybody doesn't have that,
we're going to see them at Hell's Heroes in Houston in March. I think they play the same day as Gamacide.
And I'm going to be watching Iron Jaw this coming up Saturday. So
live and in color. I can't wait.
Yep.
Can't wait for you to hang out with us and We had a great venue and see a great band.
Right on. Well, we had we're still getting comments, so people saying good show. So I appreciate everybody watching. So let's get into the end of this thing. So for what episode are we on? You know what? Actually, before I say for episode, let me introduce this. So you can find Kevin at. I always forget to do that. And see, we need Rob here. Rob does it that really good. He never remembers
he's good at that.
So anyhow, you can find Kevin at Old Metal Rocker 65 on YouTube.
Yep.
Steve, who is not here, you can find him at Harmless Rebel 868 on YouTube. You can find John at Carcass John Art on Instagram, or you can find him also on Facebook. You can find this John here in the right-hand corner at
Follow Light Music Review, I guess it's on YouTube.
Yep, Follow Light Music. And you can find me on Instagram at No Life to Metal, or you can find me on YouTube under Scott Waters or No Life to Metal. So there we go. I actually remembered to do it this time. But anyhow, so
on Facebook too.
Yep, and matter of fact, John's on Facebook as well, and Carcass is on Facebook. We're all on Facebook, so that's because we're all old guys. It's all the old guys are on Facebook. Everybody else is on these other places.
Elaborate, whatever. I do have my Instagram probably gets more art traffic than my Facebook, but whatever.
Anyhow, right on. So anyhow, for episode number 255, Metal will prevail. And this is where I leave you all hanging while I figure out how to end the show here. So I'm almost there. There we go.